So for this episode, I feel like I should dedicate this whole episode to just these two games. Games that have, well, basically kind of really consumed quite a bit of game time from me. Probably somewhere around like 130 hours in the last 4 months. So what are these games? Well, they are two games in the Tales of series. And let's not waste any more time and get started. Here we have Tales of Graces F for the PlayStation 3. Now, this game is actually kind of interesting because the thing is, this game, as some may know, actually first came out on the Wii as Tales of Graces. But see, Tales of Graces was only released in Japan. A year later, in 2010, they ported it to the PlayStation 3. And I think it's because of the fact that this got a PS3 port that any and all plans to, potentially localize Tales of Graces were, put on hold because they were like, oh, if we do localize it, we'll localize the PlayStation 3 version. And then 2 years later, North America finally gets Tales of Graces F. And, because of how recent this is, I actually do remember when this game first came out. I remember sort of the hype and talk around it. Because again, it was 2012. I do remember that for sure. The PS3 version adds a third story arc after you, beat the game. Hence the F in the title, because the F stands for Future, which refers to the Future arc added exclusively for the PS3 version. And I guess if there was any, motion control waggling in the Wii game, they probably would have worked around it and made it standard controls, though I don't know. I almost kind of wonder if it was standard controls in the Wii game. Oh my fucking god. I've got things to say about this game. Okay, I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm at the final boss, but I haven't beaten the final boss yet. I've put about 71 hours into this game, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't like this game. I do not like Tales of Graces F. Why do I not like this game? Well, there's a myriad of reasons. For one thing, I mentioned the story. If you've played this game, or beaten it or anything, you'll know that this story has issues. For one thing, it's not engaging. It's very, boring, stupid, annoying, and dull at times, and just repetitive, and just tiresome. Where the fuck do I begin? Okay, of course, there's 3 story arcs in this. The childhood arc, the main arc, and the future arc. The childhood arc, whatever, it's a decent way of, storytelling, and hey, it doesn't last too long. It doesn't overstay its welcome or anything like that. And then there's, the main arc and stuff, where it begins with, Asbel in, the Orlan Woods or whatever the hell it was called, with Malik training him. And let me tell you, when I first started off this game, I was actually kind of sort of, into it. Not as much as, of course, Vesperia and Symphonia, and even the next game I'm going to be talking about, but I was actually kind of engaged in it for the most part. But let me tell you this. As soon as that fight with Archduke Cedric is over, that's when this game's story just fucking goes downhill immediately. If you don't know who Archduke Cedric is, it's basically, it was basically Richard's uncle, Richard being one of the characters in this game. And, he basically, killed Richard's dad in order to claim heir to the throne. And as a result, he wanted Richard killed and even Asbel killed and stuff like that. But let me tell you, for one thing, the encounter with that motherfucker is very anticlimactic. He literally only has 6 or 7 lines in the entire game before you kill him off. It's a very shitty and rushed, confrontation, for sure. But after that fucking point in the story, that's when everything just immediately goes downhill, and when I started to slowly lose interest. But it didn't become as apparent. But what caused me to lose interest? It's because of the fact that the story just got very repetitive and tiresome, just overall not interesting. Now, You know why? Because so much of it is just, oh, look at that, Richard is at it again, what's up with him, why is he possessed, he's taking, Eleth from the Valkanist Creus, or, oh my god, there's something wrong with Sophie, we have to do something. Because, yeah, that's another recurring theme in this game, fucking Sophie here. Like, this game focuses so goddamn much on Sophie. A character that, you really start to learn to hate as a result because of that. Because all the goddamn time, it's like, Sophie this, Sophie that, oh my god, Sophie's fucking, in trouble. Oh my god, we gotta do something. Sophie, are you alright? That's what it just comes down to almost all the fucking time. Not literally, because there are other things going on in this story, but at the end of the day, that's just what it pretty much is. Then we finally get some exposures to what's up with Richard. You get some uninteresting and generic fucking story about the villain that possessed him, Lambda. And then eventually it's off to the future arc, which I guess the future arc is a little better than a lot of the other shit in the main arc. But even so, it's just oh my god, yo. But even so, it's still not much better, because again, it's still, such an annoying focus on Sophie. And sure, you could say that about, any other Tales of game, or really any other RPG, how, there's, a main focus on the protagonist and this other female, who's close to the protagonist. But in this game, it just doesn't work out, because it's just not very interesting, the story. It's not a good story. I'm gonna go out and say this. Tales of Graces F does not have a good story. Even with whatever enjoyable moments in this game. And the characters, for the most part, are fine. Malik and Hubert are pretty cool. Richard's cool when he's fucking actually there, not, absent. Sharia is alright. Pascal's a great character. I will say that. She's a very, very well-written character. Very energetic. Her voice actress does a fantastic job playing her. And like I said, there are enjoyable moments in this game, but in comparison to so much other shit that goes on with its repetitive, tiresome, boring-ass story, I just don't feel it can save it. Because there are times that I have been interested in it, even after that part I said where fucking, after the Archduke Cedric boss fight. But even so, it just gets so shitty all the time, and it's so tiresome. And I'm not in some minority here. A lot of people actually agree on this. And some people will actually go out and say, oh, well, at least the gameplay more than makes up for the story. I want to believe that, because honestly, for the most part, the gameplay checks out. But the battling and all that, and the boss fights, what did they do to this? Okay, so it's a little different from other Tales of games. For one thing, there's no, meter for your special attacks. I think it was called, FP or TP bar. I don't fucking remember. But there's none of that. There's also no magic lens, so yeah. The thing that really kills this game, if it wasn't enough the story, it's the fucking combat system. More specifically, the free roaming. It's because of the fact... Okay, look. So, Symphonia did not have free roaming, which may sound like a bummer, especially coming off after when I first played Tales of Vesperia, but at least you could still evade attacks because you had to jump, and overall it was just a much more, I think, fair and balanced game. With this game, your free roaming is gimped. The second you start free roaming, you start to get slower and slower and slower, which is fucking horrible. Absolutely fucking horrible that it does that. And also doesn't make sense because fucking Vesperia didn't do that. In fact, nor did the next game I'm going to be talking about. And it's because of the fact that, fucking the free roaming is gimped, and the fact that it gets you slower and slower in a very, very short time period. And just given the way that the enemies attack in this game, and just the way this game feels, evasion and defense is fucking impossible for the most part. Even if you upgrade your characters to the best possible armor you can at the time, and use the best possible weapons, and upgrade them fucking 5 levels higher than they should be, evasion and defense is almost not possible. And that's the fucking killer. And you know why that's such a big problem? Because the enemies don't fucking, recoil very easily, even if you get them with their weak to A arts or B arts. They fucking come at you just, fast. They come at you so goddamn fast, they'll attack you in fucking, 2 or 3 hits, and I also find that it's really easy to get stunned in this game, and, once you're stunned, they'll fucking kill you in 2 attacks, and even if your other party members attack, they're still not gonna go down very easily, and they won't have much luck evading attacks either. And it pains me to say that, because there's potential in this combat system, because playing as Hubert is great. In fact, I think Hubert's actually a better character than Asbel, both as a fighter and a character, because Hubert has the long-range attacks with his, Strahden military secret weapon, as it's called. But even so, the enemies don't fucking recoil at all. It's just like, it just blows my mind. It almost feels like it's unfinished when I do a lot of boss battles and, fucking regular fights in this game. Again, upgrade the characters all you want, it's still fucking, annoying. But to be fair, it's not, it's not the worst thing ever. I've had much worse, especially in, turn-based RPGs. But for a Tales of game, I expected so much better. Both from gameplay and story and everything. And, honestly, Asbel's not a very interesting character either. This game is just not interesting, and honestly, I can't say I really liked it. Even with whatever enjoyable moments in this game, it just isn't enough to save it. It just makes, a disappointing game a little more bearable. Not even the music's all that great. There's probably 4 or 5 tracks I listen to outside of the game, but again, it's just forgettable overall. This game is just weak sauce. I'm sorry if this gets me hate, and I'm sorry if you actually enjoy this game, but this is not a great game. Sure, maybe it might be better than, say, Tales of Legendia on the PS2 or Tales of the Tempest on the DS, but God damn it. I don't know. I know I talked about it for 11 minutes, but I had to say it. And also, not to mention, the fucking... Hold on, let me get the fucking game here. Not to mention, the fucking villains in, that game are just really, non-existent and just, fucking boring. Okay, I think I've went on too long enough about Tales of Graces F. Let's talk about a much better Tales of game. Tales of the Abyss for the PlayStation 2. Now, this came out in 2005, but 2006 for North Americans. This game was also strangely and randomly enough ported to the 3DS, though the thing is, the 3DS version isn't really any different. It doesn't add any extra content, and there's no multiplayer. It adds 3D, and I guess if you really want to play Tales of the Abyss on the go, you can do that. So, yeah, I actually played through 2 Tales of games this last 4 months in this summer. In fact, I actually beat this game, today, the day I'm filming this video. So, yeah, I think I can form a bit of an opinion on this game. It's great. Tales of the Abyss is a great fucking game. Probably even, a fantastic game. This is what I should have fucking played. The thing is, the reason why I played 2 Tales of games is because I figured I have so much time, free time and whatnot. I was well, I kind of have a hankering for Tales of, so, let's play 2 games. And, well, the thing is, I really should have just played this. I mean, if I just skipped through Graces F and just played through this, that would have been fine, especially, as a better follow-up from when I last played Tales of Symphonia. So, yeah. Now, going into this, I was a little concerned and hesitant because I heard a lot of people don't like this game's protagonist, Luc von Fabre. And, well, I think this is kind of the case with anyone, but anyone starting off this game isn't gonna like him. Given the way he acts and whatnot, and he's just very annoying. I mean, for God's sakes, he just, has, outbursts and shit all the time, saying, shut up this, shut up that, and he's just a whiny motherfucker. But he gets better because, obviously we can't have that throughout the whole fucking game. And, makes the story a little more enjoyable. But even before that, I get it was, doable for what it was. Does that make sense? I don't know. And, hey, the other characters are fine enough, too. Guy, he gets the job done. Tyr, I guess she's essentially the Colette and Estelle of this game, though not as helpless as Colette. And, Annis, which, I don't know, Annis, she's there. She's a good character. Natalia, again, she gets the job done too. Jade's a fantastic fucking character. Oh my god, Jade is awesome. He's probably my favorite character in this game. And let me tell you, Kirk Thornton, who does Jade's voice, also does a fantastic job. In fact, Kirk Thornton, also, of course, did Shadow, or is doing Shadow right now for, I think Sonic Boom, and I believe also Orbot. In fact, he also did Bane at one point. So yeah, the characters are pretty good. Though, honestly, there's part of me that kind of wishes there was, a 7th party member, and I guess in a way there is. I mean, you could argue Phone Master Ion, even if she's not, even if he's not, playable in the game. He's with you for quite a bit of the journey. And, other things and whatnot, even though, spoiler warning, he dies. One thing that's also kind of interesting about this game are the villains. Like how Symphonia had the 5 Grand Cardinals. This game has the 6 God Generals. Though the thing is, they're not all completely irredeemable, nefarious monsters like the, Grand Cardinals were. Because they all have some sort of, backstory or connection to the characters. I mean, I guess Sync and Dist are completely fucking, beyond salvaging. But the other ones, Lagretta, Arietta, and Largo are just kind of ones that are potentially they could, at least not be enemies if, they could potentially not be enemies if, you talk to them, but obviously they're not gonna listen, because they're hell-bent on fucking supporting good old Van, Tyr's sister and whatnot, which, isn't that just crazy that he's kind of the big bad of the game, considering all the stuff he does. And the 6th one is Ash, which is a replica of Luke, which brings me to my next point. Yes, this game is quite focused on replicas. I have kind of mixed feelings about that, but of course, it does a great job for what it does with that story of replicas. I mean, again, spoiler warning, Ash dies. Not pleasant, but, yeah, he dies, and, if I can say anything about the ending's a little weird. That's crazy. The gameplay itself is, of course, your standard Tales of Matter. You can free roam in this game, though I don't believe you can attack while free roaming, and like you could in Vesperia, but of course the free roaming works well enough. Even if it didn't have free roaming, I think it would also be fine, because, it is pretty similar to Symphonia, I guess. But yeah, the story is still engaging, even if I'm not, completely all about it, but it does a great job for what it does, and therefore it really does keep me really did keep me engaged. I put about 65 hours into this, so definitely the shortest amount of time for, any Tales of game that I've played. But this is really a great game, really a fantastic game for sure. I'll probably talk more about, memories and whatnot I have with it in a PS2 retrospective, but it's great. And also, shoutouts to, the first battle theme, The Arrow Was Shot. I really wish that played for more of the game. But, it's of course great to play another entry into the Tales of franchise, and hey, fucking much better than this disappointing fucking game. Oh, try this game out. You'll like it, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, next episode, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of games, so yeah, stay tuned.